Hello, hello. Facebook, we are live. It's show number 1 for Women of Dance. Anya Katsevman will be joining me today as my first guest. I'm so excited that she agreed to do this. This is going to be fun. Can't wait. She's going to come on any second now, and we will get started. Also going to give it a few minutes to jump on, for people to jump in on the live. But I'm so excited to kick off the first episode. So just stay tuned. We're going to get started shortly. And here she is. Hello, gorgeous.
Hello, beautiful.
How are you?
Good. Let me just figure out the perfect setup.
Whatever works for you. We're just getting started. People are just jumping in. This took easier to set up than I thought it would. So yay. Love technology.
I'm not there yet. Okay. I think this works, right?
Yeah. Can you hear me well?
Yes,
I can hear you well.
Great.
Wonderful. So first of all, thank you so much for agreeing to be my first guest. You're kind of part of the reason why this got started in the first place. So I only seemed it was fair that you would be my initial guest for my show. So
Well,
thank you.
it's my pleasure. I'm really proud of you for doing this. I think it's an awesome topic.
So yeah, I mean, it's funny when I first wanted to do it, like I said in my live, my eye keeps watering. When I said in my live, when I wanted to do this at first, I thought it would be just a weekly show. I mean, once a month. And when I started making the list of all the women I wanted to interview, I was just blown away by how many there are that like, I just wanted to talk to and feature. And I was like, oh shoot, we can do this every week. So,
Yeah, but that's great,
I'm
right?
really
That
excited.
means we know that many amazing people.
I know. And you're all so fabulous. And I've gotten to work with so many of you on some sort of level, whether it be, coach and student or someone that hired me or someone, a colleague. It's just been awesome meeting so many great people. So I thought this was a great way to do this. If you could raise the camera a little bit, I can't see your face.
Working on it.
No problem.
I don't have my tripod here, but
Hello, we have so many great people watching.
yeah, let's say hi to everybody. I wish I could see their
Hi.
names.
So we got Issa's watching. We got
Hey, Isa.
Nadej watching. Jesus
Hi,
is
Nadej.
watching. I
Hi.
can't keep up with all of them. Are you not able to see the comments and stuff? Or
They disappear.
interesting. I wonder if you swipe to one side or whatever, if they'll come back. Because with
It's
the
okay.
Android, if I swipe, then I can see them, or I can swipe to the other side and they disappear.
Okay.
They're all
Gotcha.
saying hi to you. So
Hey,
I'm
everybody.
gonna get this. So for those that are watching, and for Anya, I told her one of the things that I wanted to be able to do with this is not just talk to you, but also showcase your work. So occasionally you guys will still see Anya, but you won't see me. You will, however, see this. So
This
yes.
is so cool.
So we will be showing performances. Everyone, don't worry about the sound. You're not going to hear the music from the videos because it's going to fight with the sound quality. And I want to be able to ask you questions
That's
while
a
we look at
ballroom
them.
video you have.
Of course it is.
How?
Girl, I have a degree in broadcast journalism. I know how to do the deep dive. I went in on the research.
Good job. I want to see that video.
We're going to show it. We're definitely going to show it. It's coming up soon. But let's get started at least from the beginning. So I'm sure there's going to be people that are watching that don't know you like I do, or like a lot of our dance friends that are watching do. So why don't you tell me about when your dance life began?
My dance life began in 1995, I think. I don't know. I think I always lie about this unintentionally. But we immigrated to the States in 93, and I think I started dancing either in 94 or 95. It took a little bit for my brother to find a place where ballroom dance for kids existed, because that wasn't a thing back in the day. And he found a person that wanted to start a club for kids because he saw a need. And I think by 1995 I joined. So I joined a Latin ballroom competitive dance school.
Hmm.
I was trained since I was, well, 95, I would have been 11 years old, 10 or 11 years old. And I did all of the competitive ballroom rising of the ranks. Had a pretty good, successful career, finished as a professional, found salsa in 2007, made a bet with my first salsa dance partner that if he, there I am doing ballroom. Oh, that's
There you are.
lovely. Oh, this is so awesome, Sharonne. Good job.
Well, thank you.
Great
Slow
production.
down though. We're going to get to the salsa part. I want to take a little bit of a dive first into your ballroom life. So,
Okay.
when your parents put you into dance, was that you asking or was that them wanting you to go into dance? Where did that come from?
Ah, ha 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 ha. I think because it don't honestly, I don't remember, right? It's so weird. I remember taking some classes recreationally still in Ukraine because you had to do something after school and it was offered. And I don't really remember liking it. It was a lot of pressure. There was a lot of like, you had to be a certain way. And I was pressured to always be in the front line. And if I wasn't, I was kind of shamed for it and it was embarrassing. So I don't know. I always remember that I wanted to act. Um, and that's not something my mother felt comfortable with. And I think they put me into dance because they wanted us to be together. So this was my brother's passion at first. He was a ballroom dancer in Ukraine. It was really important for him to continue that when we moved to the States. So he found the school. He found a dance partner. It was like something that he already knew he wanted to do. And I think my parents put me in it because that became my babysitter, you know? It's where he went every day, so it was easy for them to have me there because I was always looked after. But I do remember loving the glitz and the glamour and the costumes and you know, I was really good at it right away. Like you put me
Yeah.
on stage, I won every single competition as a little kid because I had that thing of, you know, showing off, which was really like, you know, that adorable child thing. I had it
Yeah.
as, and I loved performing. I loved being on stage. I loved taking up space. I loved the applause. I of course loved the costumes and the makeup and so I definitely fell in love with that part of it for sure right away.
Okay. You mentioned it's so funny because you posted on Women's Day. You made this post from your dancer page on Facebook,
Hmm.
and I read it, and like I could have literally unpacked that entire thing in just this one episode because there was so much in there. But you started it off talking about the relationship with your brother and the expectations for you guys that were different. Do you think that was because boy girl or because he was older and you were the younger sibling and he had more experience?
So, you know, it's a little bit different than the way you're presenting it. The way I meant it is a little bit different than the way you're presenting it.
Okay, please,
And
sorry. Clarify.
yeah, so that's why I was very careful to say my male sibling as opposed to my brother, because that particular post, I wasn't sharing my experience with him. Um,
Hmm.
it was more the expectation of what a male has and what a female has. So for me, that was about highlighting the dynamic of, I remember growing up, I asked my mom, like, I want to be an actress. And she said, no, that's a career where you'll only succeed if you sleep your way to the top. Right. And I remember growing up, and he was encouraged to do all these things, and you know, encouraged to succeed and encouraged to compete, and I was just encouraged to get married and have kids and provide safety and security for my parents when they get old. Uh,
I know the feeling. I
I'm
also,
sure you do. And so for me, that's why it was important to make that post not personal, because I don't think it was about the specific dynamics of my family. I think that's a old world dynamic that women of our generation, I think you and I are very close in age, women of our generation went through. So
yeah.
I just wanted to highlight the dynamic of the expectations, and it was hard for me, and it took a toll on me a lot, because that support helped him succeed so much quicker. And I went through a lot of things until I found my own way, and it seemed much harder. So I don't think, because I have observed other dancers in my position that were male, right? Like I used to dance with Val, who also had an older brother, and they also both danced, and it was just a totally different dynamic because they were both boys, right?
Yeah.
Or to me, it seemed that way because I'm looking at it as what I go through as a female, and how similar it is to what you would go through as a female. And this story is familiar for all of us, older brother or younger brother. For me, it feels very much like this was what's expected for men, and this is what's expected for women.
Absolutely. Before we go into your salsa life, because I feel like you, like I, have had multiple dance lives. You start in one genre, then you move into another. So before we get into the salsa world that you ended up dominating, and as we know, two-time world champion, what did you see in the ballroom world in the sense of the male-female power relationships?
I'm so glad you're asking me these questions, because I've been writing several posts about this, like trying to highlight it in a way that brings awareness without attracting anything else. So it was very clear that the man is the dominant person being watched and judged as far as success goes. It was very clear that if a strong male lead had a weak female partner, he could still win. And when you would watch an extremely strong female with a slightly weaker male, they like wouldn't even get through to the semifinals or whatever. And that was really obvious. And not for nothing, it's a weird thing to say. I feel like I experienced that firsthand, because I don't want to say that I was always better than my dance partners or anything like that, but it always felt like you're working towards a harmonious, equal relationship between a man and a woman, which is what's beautiful about it, right? You're working towards having this polarity as opposed to duality, but everybody wants to succeed. And it was very clear that the success rate often had a lot more to do with how the man is seen as opposed to the woman.
Now, I've only spent a limited amount of time in the ballroom world. I kind of just did a little detour there on my way to salsa and bachata land. But
Yay, more ballroom.
I'm just waiting for the excitement on your face when you see these videos. I'm telling you, girl, I went on a deep dive for you.
I love it. I love it. So the first guy that you saw me dance with, his name is Dimitris Damalos. He is a fabulous dancer. I think now he's living in his home country of Greece. And this handsome gentleman, his name is Warner Figar. And I think he has a dance school in New Jersey. Sorry, I don't know the name, but you guys can definitely look it up. And he was awesome to dance with because he was also AILI trained. So that was a lot of fun.
It looked, this social dance is, or this, I don't know what this was. Was this just a little exhibition for your students, or?
Yeah, we both worked at the same dance studio, and we were asked to do a performance for one of the socials.
So much power in this movement. I mean, I personally, this one is one of my favorite videos of yours, and I actually remember getting ready for some competition with Darlin, and we were going to do like a Just Dance Cha-Cha, and I was watching this over and over to give me like motivation. I'm like, I need my Cha-Cha to look like this.
Oh,
because
thanks.
it's so much fun to watch. I mean, look at you go. And you own the space, right?
Yeah.
So you're telling me about how competition in ballroom, that it's the strong man that they look at for the judging, but no offense to your partner, I just see you.
And that was sort of a theme for me for a long period of time. And, you know, because I dive deep into the internal work, there's so much that goes into it, right? That what we're trying to highlight as far as fairness, I have to be fair and say that there's a lot that goes into it, right? A lot of it has to do with also aligning yourself with people of your own level, and wanting to be seen as equals. So there's always a lot of dynamics, right? We can never judge a book by its cover. I appreciate what you're saying. I thought Warner and I were very well matched. He was a lot of fun to dance with. But yeah, I loved being on stage because no matter what, that was the one place I got to be myself. And it wasn't scary, regardless of what you can observe. It wasn't scary to be powerful. It was allowed. It wasn't, I wasn't gaslit every time I had a sense. So everything that I have inside of me that would come out with words in conversation would get shut down, that would come through as opinion would get shut down. But the stage was one place where I could be powerful and be dynamic and be strong. And so all of these things that I had inside of me, they were allowed to be presented on stage. So whether that would lead to success or not, that, has other factors involved, but it was okay for me to show up. It was okay for me to be strong. It was okay for me to be powerful. And I think ultimately that's why I always looked forward to doing it.
I love that. I love that we're able to use dance to really just express what we want to, like no filter,
Oh, well,
you
that's
know?
why we do it, right?
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. I did find another one in your ballroom days. I'm going to quickly flip it back over so you can see it. It is some rumble
Oh,
performance of yours.
wow. So this is great. So this is so that's Luis Aguilar, my first dance partner, and actually beside me to the right is Veronica Castilla, and we all worked at the same dance school, which was super awesome. And yeah, they were all interested in ballroom, and I think their interest in ballroom allowed me to feel safe enough to be interested in what they did, which was salsa. And that's Andriana Kurdi, whom I love, and Franklin Ayala. Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah,
And
that's a
Toby, I don't remember Toby's last name. Yeah, so it was, this is how you're literally watching my transition into the salsa scene right
that
here.
made I made this playlist in the right order. Yes. So so this video that we were just looking at, was this when you and Luis had already partnered up?
No, this was probably what made me want to partner with him. So he was working at the school teaching salsa. I was working at the school teaching teaching ballroom, and we would be mandated to do these showcases for the studio, and he would ask me if he had some interest. I think his first interest was Paso Doble, and I started to teach him, and I was just really, I remember being very impressed with his ability to pick up, because I know how long it took me to nail some of that movement, and he was just picking it up super quick. And I was just impressed with his talent. So I started to ask him, like, do you compete? Do you, what's your rank? Ballroom. And
Ballroom,
he's
of
like,
course.
no, I do this recreationally. I work at the hospital. This is just a hobby for me. And today that makes sense because that's one of the beautiful things about salsa, is that you could do it passionately, but also at a point where you have life outside of dance. At that moment, for me, I didn't have a life outside of dance. I didn't know what that was. I was barely 20 years old, and really trying to make dance my life, and it's really all I knew. And that was shocking to me, and I looked at how talented he is, and I said, no dude, that no. And I said, okay, you teach me this salsa thing and I'll teach you to be a world champion. And that sounds really funny, and also a little bit arrogant, but I genuinely just thought he was too talented to do this recreationally. And that's one of my gifts in this world, and probably why I excel as a coach, is when you come to me, I'm very good at seeing exactly what you're capable of doing, and knowing what tools to give you to achieve that. And that side of me came out, and I didn't realize that it would end up being my career. But at the moment, I just genuinely wanted him to see that he could be a successful dancer. And and that's how we started. And at the time, I remember a lot of people being interested in partnering with me, and I was approached by a lot of already high profile dancers. And yeah, that's my first salsa performance. Well, not performance, but that's our first worlds, and that's our first salsa choreography. That's Sum Sum Babae, 2007. We made it to the finals in second place, actually. And then Luis thought that this song was not on the list for what we can do in the finals. So we did a brand new routine in the finals, made a little mistake, and ended up in fourth place. But yeah, this was great. And I remember falling in love with salsa at this moment, because at the time, to me, it felt like talent goes a long way in the salsa community. So I felt like, hey, if I ever get good enough, I know I can win this. And that was very encouraging for me, because some of the things I've experienced as a ballroom dancer, it wasn't as simple to win. So that's one of the reasons I decided to pursue it. It was after this championship. It was also a really fun championship. Like, it was televised on ESPN. We had a camera following us around. It was definitely a lot of fun to participate in. Made it feel very special.
Was this your first competition to get your first worlds together?
It's our first world. So back in that time, this is 2007, there weren't that many salsa competitions. And with the first one we did was that September. So this year, looking at December 2007, we competed for the first time in September at the New York Salsa Congress, where there were actually 10 couples, and it was all of these famous salsa dancers from New York actually competed, and some dancers from Puerto Rico, and we made it in second place. So it was very encouraging to do so well so quickly. It helped me feel very accepted and welcomed, and gave me the courage to pursue it. Yeah.
And at this point, you said bye-bye ballroom, right? You were fully in.
I was dancing with Werner, the person that you showed right before this. So I was doing both. And actually, when I first started to be interested in salsa, I got offered to tour with Burn the Floor. So I went on tour with Burn the Floor. Then I came back and I got offered to tour with Dancing with the Stars. So I went on tour with Dancing with the Stars. So it's really interesting, because if I only understood this back then, I didn't. But the way I can see it now is the universe was sort of showing me, well, sister, you have options. You can be a dancer on tour, right? And go into the more commercial side of dance. You could continue to pursue ballroom, because here's this wonderful person you're dancing with, or you can take on salsa. And it really felt, at the moment, it didn't feel like three opportunities. At the moment, it felt more like things that I'm trying to see whether I like it or not, and how it feels. And ballroom has always felt challenging for me. And when I went on tour, I don't know, it felt very unstable. I didn't enjoy tour life. I didn't like that I didn't have a home. I didn't like that there was no stability, that my friends were not my friends. It felt very temporary. And I think, even though I was very young, I sort of recognized that this is all very temporary. And if I invest my time into this, I won't be building towards my future. It would just be more of an experience. It was wonderful, because when you're on tour, you make money and you don't spend money. And I use that to start a savings, and that really has helped me become a dancer, because I started to have this nice cushion for myself when I was able to. But I think that's why I decided not to do tour life. It felt unstable, and it didn't feel like I'm building a future. It felt temporary. And then with ballroom, I came to this point where I would have gone to Blackpool and spent all of this money just to make it a little bit. And there wasn't much certainty there. And with salsa, I saw this opportunity to be recognized for my abilities. I saw it as a place where I would be welcomed for my talent, and if I got good enough, I could actually achieve my dream of being a world champion. Whereas in ballroom, that was never clear to me. But the thing that really made me choose salsa, and it was a choice that I made because at some point I would either let Louise down or let Werner down, so I had to make a choice. I saw a need for better vocabulary when it came to teaching. So as I started to dance salsa, I started to teach salsa, and I noticed that there was so much knowledge that I acquired as a ballroom dancer, and so much vocabulary and so much technical understanding that just isn't being communicated. And so I really stayed because I thought all of these really wonderful, passionate dancers deserved to know how to really use their body. And so I just wanted to teach everybody technique. And so I knew I would have to first learn it, and I dedicated literally 3 years of my life to going social dancing every day, taking all the classes that I can. And luckily I'm in New York, so that was easy. But then I really thought I'm going to use what I know about mechanics as a ballroom dancer, and get to know what the fundamental look of salsa is, refine my own skill set, and start to offer it to people in a way where they didn't just have to rely on their talent, right? That they could grow beyond that and use the mechanics to fuel the artistry that they want to create, because I thought that that was missing.
You know what? Thank God for all of us that you did go on that route, because think about how many of us would be lacking you as a teacher, right? Whether it's, you know, working on physical stuff, or like some of my students have worked with you and they're like, she just gets me. Like she just gets to, like, you have this innate ability to help students understand things in a way that just didn't click for them. Like, I'm not going to name names of my students, but I know students that have trained with you and then like have come to me afterwards and been like mind blown. Like I was blocked and she made that connection that I couldn't like, it's just, we're very grateful to have you is basically my point.
Thank
So,
you. Thank you. I promise not to cry, I think.
okay. Well, I mean, I might get mushy because I do. So if I do, you do, it's fine. But if you cry,
Okay.
I will cry. So
I know, that's why I'm trying not to, because then this will turn into a sob fest, and that would be very cliche.
well, before we get all mushy, this was your first title, correct? This was the first time you
Yes.
guys won.
Sharonne, this concept you created is just phenomenal. Good for you. This is awesome. I'm enjoying this, and this is very different from any other interview style that I've seen. I'm just, you know what? This is fantastic. Good for you.
Yay,
And
thank you.
thank you for putting it together, because it's definitely an interesting like way to see yourself. Yes, this was the first championship we won. So our first time competing was 2007, and yes, I'm very proud of this part of the story. In 2008 there was no championship, so Luis and I trained for 1 year, and in 2009 this was the way they revived the world championship, and we came in and we won, and it was awesome.
Phenomenal performance, of course.
Phenomenal performance. Yes, so
No problem. It's a
it was
performance, but
definitely,
it's a competition, It's
well,
fine.
it was difficult. We had a misconnection in the semifinals. I think we still made it in first place into the final, but it was very heated and all of the things, and I don't know, it felt great. The On2 World Championship has been established for just a couple of years before I got into it. And if I'm not mistaken, if I am mistaken, someone tell me, but if I'm not mistaken, Oliver and Luda were the only people to ever be world champions of the On2 division at the time. And so when we did 2009, I think he judged. I don't think they definitely didn't compete, and I think he judged. So when we won, for me, it was a dream come true, because it's everything I ever worked for as a dancer. But for the community, there was this instant pushback of, yeah, you won, but you didn't beat Oliver. So I was actually really ready to like hang up my competition dance shoes, because hey, I did what I wanted. And felt a lot of pressure from the outside world to do it again because, well, we didn't beat Oliver, because he wasn't there. And Luis at the time had already moved to San Francisco, so I knew I was signing up for lots of commuting and a difficult time. But yeah, that's the 2009 Worlds were very, very sweet and a little bitter because of that.
I have to ask, just because from one Russian Jewish girl to another, the ballroom world is so, I don't want to say saturated with Russians, but it's a very, lots of Russians do ballroom. Did you feel any type of pushback or any additional obstacles because you weren't a Latina coming into this world trying to win?
Not until I got good.
Interesting that you
So
say that.
it's how I felt it. I felt very welcomed, very encouraged, very well supported. Everybody loved the, like the theatrics and the costumes and the makeup and the stage presence that I had. Everybody, everybody was super curious about it, because I think a lot of ballroom dancers have tried to be a part of the salsa world, but didn't quite stick around for their own reasons. And it looked like I was gonna do it well, so I had the entire community support until I got good. And as soon as I got good, I started to feel that, I started to feel the racism, really. I started to feel yeah, you're not actually good because you're, and I don't know if it's because I'm Russian or white, but it's never been a race thing out loud. It's always been a you're too ballroom thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But on the surface of it, to me, it always felt like a race thing, right? So it hasn't been pleasant at all times. It's definitely been pleasant a lot, and I feel very supported, much more than I feel unsupported. But certainly, when I was transitioning from ballroom to salsa, I had to get good at it, right? So when I would hear you're to this or you're to that or you have no flavor, it was fine, because well, it wasn't fine because no one could explain what flavor is, so I didn't really know how to get it. But it was definitely okay, because I needed to get good at it. I was doing something completely different from what I did before, and so I didn't take it to heart. But when I did start to understand it and did put in the work and did pay my dues, as salsa dancers like to say, I didn't feel as supported, and it started to get increasingly harder, and a lot of my methodology was frequently questioned, and I think people were just afraid that what they looked like was going to change, and they weren't ready for it. And that's unfortunate, and it affected me heavily, and I played with my methodology a lot, and I always try to do what is best for the dancer in relationship to the music, with all respect to the culture, but also respecting the fact that it's an art form, and expression is free to be had by anyone in the way they want to have it. So it didn't feel kind in that way, because I felt silenced again. I felt, all of those things that I've grown accustomed to feeling as a woman, and all of the things, because I wasn't accepted for who I am. But I felt that not when I started. I felt it more when I became an influence.
I can definitely understand that. And I think that's so powerful for you to say all those things and for people to hear that, like that you didn't feel it at first, but then you found a way to like come through and create things for yourself where you didn't, you know what I mean? It was just very particular to you. And then, I mean, look at you, you came back and you defended your title, as we just
Yes,
saw.
that was
And
awesome. Yes, so we came back in 2010, already being 3,000 miles apart, and Oliver competed that year, and we won, and that felt great.
And you continued performing with Luis for a few years after, because you retired from competition at that point. You defended your title and you were like, I'm done.
Yes, we defended our title, and again, that was already when not everybody was happy about that. I remember the organizer of the event went on stage and sort of questioned the judges before he announced it publicly. He said, "Are you guys sure?"
Unbelievable.
before he announced it, and um, and that was that. So I decided not to compete from that moment forward, and I decided to start training others, because that was really my passion all along. So I took it as a good sign for me to hang up my competitive shoes and start building whoever wanted to go on this career path, and start to make competition more of something salsa dancers did, because I knew how good it could make you. I knew the lessons it teaches you about life and discipline and yourself. And I really wanted to expose more people to the beauty of competing. So Luis and I continued to perform, I think, until 2013. Sometimes I lie unintentionally because I forget, but I think it was 2013. But it was very difficult. He lived 3,000 miles away. He wasn't as motivated because we weren't competing. So creating new material was challenging, and we weren't training in the same way, and it just got too hard. So we decided to not perform together anymore, because it just got the circumstances. Yeah, this was our last choreography together.
That's what I
Um,
thought. I was trying to see if I could find the last piece that you got. Look at your hair, short hair here.
yes, I had short hair, I think, more of my life than I've had long hair.
Real, I
Yeah,
remember when you cut it
yeah.
off, and I was like, "What did you do? Why did you cut off your beautiful curls?" And I think we were in New York or something, and Tamara said her wardrobe needs a funky hairdo or something, like she's too stylish for the soft curls, like because it was just such a cool look. I
Yeah, I was always
loved it.
attracted to a pixie cut for that reason. I was also, growing up, again, I was heavily influenced by my brother. And I remember, my mom would ask me when I was like really little, she's like, "Are you a good," how you ask kids, "Are you a good girl?" And I would always say, "I'm a good girl boy," because it was cool to be a boy, and I wanted to be cool. And I'm not saying I cut my hair to look like one, but a big part of me probably did, because I at that time didn't know how amazing it is to be a woman. And again, I'm not saying short hair means you're not a woman, but for me, it was definitely something I explored, because I always thought boys were cooler than girls.
I personally have always loved your style, your costumes. I think I borrowed this costume at one point from you. Um, you've always been extremely fashionable with your looks, and I know you've also designed costumes for other dancers. You designed for AIM. What made you decide to do this little side venture of, coming up with concepts for costumes for dancers?
It's something that I always did. Regardless of what it is that was growing inside of me, I was always attracted to fashion. I always loved clothes. As girly as that sounds, that side of me was always awake, and that was a way, being who I am was important for me, I think, since the day I was born. And again, fashion is one of those places where I could be myself without anyone telling me who I am or what to do. And I love it. I think it's beautiful. I also absolutely love beauty and everything that is beautiful. So for me, the way you look is a reflection of who you are, how you feel on the inside, and you get to change that a lot, right? Because you change a lot on the inside. So I've always been passionate about it, and I started to design costumes when I was doing ballroom, and got kind of good at it. Like ballroom dancers, I designed costumes for ballroom dancers, and that was an amazing honor, because they have a lot of options. And so when I started dance salsa, it was a no-brainer. And also as a coach, that's part of the service that I provide, right? Like to take care of your image and make sure that the whole package reflects what you're working on. So I just started designing costumes because people that I wasn't coaching were asking me to do it. So then I started to have it a separate fee for that. And yeah, I did it for a while. I stopped doing it because I don't actually make the costumes. So at some point, it became very challenging to find reliable people that can actually sew well and don't let the clientele down. And people were asking me from all different parts of the world. So then I would design it, but the costume maker made it different. And I realized that, okay, if I want to pursue this, I'll have to learn how to sew, and that's very meticulous and takes a lot of time. And so I knew if I did that, I would probably dance a little less, and I didn't want to put myself in a position where I'm dancing a little bit less.
I know personally, I remember you did the costumes for one of our AIM pieces for like our group piece. It was like the only mambo routine that we did. And it's still like one of my favorite costumes. It's so
That's
comfortable
good.
and so
I'm
pretty.
so glad. Yeah, I'm so glad.
So I'm gonna flip the camera for a second because we're going to talk about this next routine. This was after you left your partnership with Luis, and you did a routine that I'm gonna refer to, I feel like, as every female dancer's dream.
Okay, I wonder
Okay.
what it is.
It was, I mean, I thought this was revolutionary. I thought this was phenomenal. And I just remember thinking, I want to do that.
Ah, well, welcome avant-garde. Yes.
Welcome, avant-garde.
Yes,
This,
so, uh-huh.
talk to me about this amazing routine.
I hope that this is a good example for everybody of how the best ideas come so naturally when you're just working with what you have. So the intro for this piece was choreographed by my brother for Luis Aguilar and I. And we started working on this intro. He was in New York because we had a gig and we couldn't find a salsa song for it and all of the stuff. So this was put on the back burner and never brought to life because, you know, Luis and I split up, and actually for a very long time I didn't have a dance partner and I didn't pursue finding one because I was, you know, actually being heavily influenced to not be on stage anymore. And I really can't identify that as my own feelings, but at the time they were influenced to be that. And so I was just judging, teaching, and not performing. But I started to notice that the people that I'm training are getting a lot of work, and I'm not, because they're out there showcasing their talents, and I'm not. So I wasn't smart enough to realize that I missed it, but I was smart enough to realize that I need it. So these are three amazing male students of mine: Luis Santiago, Franklin Leranzo, and Christian Taborda. And I was training all of them at the time and also helping them become teachers and have their own students that competed. So because they were all on that same career track, I knew they would be traveling to all of the events I'm going to judge. So I was like, okay, well, I always wanted to dance with three men, and I have this intro that would look really cool if we were four people instead of one. So believe me, I never said to myself, I'm going to have a team or anything like that. It was really a desire and a comfort, right? It was desire mixed with comfort. I desired to not keep that number in my closet, and it was comfortable to do it with the three of them because I knew they would be going wherever I am going. That's how it came about.
I kind of look at this performance as a turning point for you as an artist from an outside perspective, in the sense that, like, not that this is where you got the title of the queen, but in the sense that, like, this was just such an empowering performance, and kind of a sense, I feel like, for women that, like, we can be fierce and we can command not one man, we can command three men on stage and put our vision out there. And I feel like after this, your performances change too. Like, we're gonna go further, and we're gonna look a little bit at some of the work that you did with Luis afterwards, some of your pieces that have like ballroom fusion and everything. But I mean, I'm gonna flip to me for a second while it loads in case there's a commercial, because YouTube sucks like that sometimes. But I look at that piece really as a, like, everything before it is one Anya, and then everything after it is Anya 2.0 type of thing, if that makes any sense to you.
It's just cool to hear yourself being spoken about in that way, because, you know, like, I don't know what other artists experience, but I most definitely never think that people are watching my career or are paying attention to me in this way. So it feels very nice. Thank you. Um, yeah, I guess it was me doing me. You know, I was raised as a ballroom dancer, right? Which always means you are attached to a male. And I, you know, was setting up my career in the footsteps of my brother, who also has a dance partner. So, like, for me, dancing was a couple thing. And even though I was already a salsa dancer, and I see solos and group performances and team directors, I don't know, for me, it was still like the partnering aspect of it is what I liked. I enjoyed doing partner work. I enjoyed that. I, at the time, really didn't enjoy doing shines. It was still all unfamiliar for me, dancing by myself. And I definitely wasn't mature enough to explore my own sensuality and womanhood yet. So yeah, it was a really great moment for me to be the powerful person that I am. So it felt really nice to step into that side of myself. It reminded me of, you know, that girl that you recognized in the cha-cha performance with Warner, right? It
Yeah,
reminded me of her, because that's truly such a big dominant part of who I am. And again, not always who I'm allowed to be. So that performance felt,
I mean, I love a lot of your routines. I think I always tell you like, oh, I love this, but I particularly enjoyed this partnership that you had with Luis because he was so, I feel like I remember you telling me he was very into learning all the ballroom. So you were
yeah,
really throwing everything into the dances. I mean, where you had
that's
routines where you were showing paso and quick step, and
yeah,
I love that.
well, that was Luis Aguilar, right? And when I met Luis Santiago, who you see on screen here, the reason we formed a partnership is because he showed me the same interest, and that made me feel safe. It made me feel comfortable, because, you know, even with Luis Aguilar, who was always down or curious, he was never actually invested in it, so it was actually hard to get him to do the movements later on. When we were already established, it was a lot out of his comfort zone, so it made him very uncomfortable, understandable, but hard for me, right? So Luis Santiago was taking a lot of lessons from me and showing me a lot of dedication and promise. And, you know, again, super talent, like super talented. So he was at the time obsessed with ballroom, right? Watching all the dance videos, and to me, that's like, okay, you're speaking my language, because you're somebody I'll be able to continue doing partner work with, because I love that, and also someone I can do fusion numbers with, because that's, I don't want to only be half of who I am when I'm on stage, right? And ballroom I love, and it's a big part of who I am and how I want to dance. So that's why we formed a partnership, because it was, again, I knew he would be going to the events, because he was having students compete, and I knew that he would be interested in numbers like this, where we did, this is paso salsa. I love this costume.
That's what I was about to say. This costume, this was a a body tight dress. Explain this, please, because this thing had people's minds going, what?
So this is an actual fishnet bodysuit. So it's a one piece. So the sleeve and the tights are all a one piece fishnet bodysuit. And I
Incredible.
had the dress made on top of that.
It's just stunning.
It's
Like
stunning. Yeah, I love
it's
it.
stunning. I just remember seeing
Yeah,
it the first time and I'm like, oh, I don't know what that is, but I want it. It was so
yeah.
beautiful. But yeah,
Melissa Rosado has it.
all these routines that you've done with Luis Santiago, like it's just seems like so much fun that you're having. out there?
Yes, you know, because Luis was my student, it was a very different dynamic working with him than Luis Aguilar, right? Who was,
Mhm.
you know, teaching me how to dance salsa. Um, so it allowed me for a lot of creativity. And even though I really wanted Luis to feel equal to me as much as he could, um, working with him allowed me to call a lot of the shots. So this is, you know, a lot of my vision, a lot of how I wanted things to be. Um, a lot of, you know, it's a collaborative effort, not to take anything away from all of the wonderful hard work he put into this,
Of course not.
but
Of course
yeah,
not.
the numbers were creative, because you know, felt very comfortable expressing my vision.
And this is what I mean when I talk about Anya 2.0, right? I feel like the previous, and maybe it's because of what the partnership was about. With Luis Aguilar, you were doing competition, so you had to meet certain criteria, whereas with this partnership, this was strictly performance based. You two weren't competing together. So I don't know if it's because you just had that creative freedom, but this like post avant-garde Anya is just living her best mashup life of all the styles. And I
Yeah,
really
I mean,
wanted to I really wanted to get the video of you with the feathers, that
ah,
routine, but I couldn't find a good quality video of it to put into this. It was very
oh,
upsetting.
yes, that is upsetting. Okay, I wonder if I'll find one. I'll post it.
Well, I'm probably going to have you back for another interview episode because we only have 10 minutes left and we haven't even gotten to like
Anywhere, girl,
any of the
let's,
stuff that you're doing right now. I need a
I can,
two-parter for you, my queen.
yes, I can totally be your monthly guest.
Oh, I would love that because there's always so much to unpack with you. Let me see what else I have on here with you guys. I have a lot. 2018 Canada Congress. If I'm not mistaken, oh, I wish that I could play the sound for these pieces, but it will
Yeah,
so mess
I
up the
love,
volume.
I love this number. Yeah.
This number was fantastic. And that costume was a concept that you came up with, like alternatives, right? Because you also had the
Well,
queen routine.
yes. So to be completely honest, that cost, oh, my bachacha that I love. Stop
I
it.
know I did. I
This is
did. I
awesome.
really wanted to show
Um,
that to you because it's a ballerina bachata. Like I love
yes. So the other costume I saw, I think Joanna Lunis posted something on Instagram where she was wearing something that looked glamorous in the front and long and simple in the back. And I was like, oh, that's great. I want to do that. And I created this black and silver one. And my at the time I was going to Mexico to perform for To Be Inspired, which was the first like all women's organized congress, meaning a congress with only female artists. And so I
Yes, I
felt
remember
super,
that.
yeah, I was felt super honored to be a part of that. I really wanted that opportunity, but I've also never danced solo, and at the time have never really danced without a partner, so or three. And I knew I had to create something, but I don't enjoy dancing by myself. I really like interacting with other dancers on stage. So I had asked Tanya Alimana, because I knew that she is going to the event, to do a number with me. And really fortunately she said yes, and so I created the other dress for her to wear. So then I created the same dress that I currently had, right? Again, convenience. This is the costume I currently have. So I created another one in nude with gold and a red back. And then the number ended up having three girls. So I created the blue one.
I love that we're touching just slightly on this number because when I have you back for part two, we're going to kick it off with this female empowerment segment of your life, starting with that performance. I feel like that was the next catalyst for the next phase of your life, but we're running out of time. So we're not going to be able to get to that today. But can we talk real quick about this piece because you did love it and I loved it. And I remember you talking to me about this costume and being like, it's a ballerina, bachatera, something. Like, talk to me about this because I love this one as well.
I Again, so much happens out of necessity, right? So this costume had to be simple because I was transitioning seamstresses. So this was one of the first things this new seamstress I was working with could create for me, and she was really busy and lived in Vancouver. So I knew that it had to be something she could easily make that didn't need too many fittings. So I thought about this concept of, okay, what would make me feel badass because it's a rock and roll song, but also really sensual and feminine because creating a kind of a bachata piece. So that's where the rock star ballerina kind of came out. And the only thing that was handmade here is the top leather skirt. The tutu and the bodysuit I bought from Capizio. And I also went to Calgary Salsa Congress and bought all of this beautiful Sephora jewelry that I wanted to wear. So it was perfect because, the black with the rhinestone contrast. It was just perfect. But the bachata I loved because I always loved dancing bachata. And as a ballroom dancer, my favorite dance is rumba. So that's sort of my equivalent, right? Of salsa, rumba is bachata because it's slower and you get to move your body more and it's sensual and intimate. And Luis was really good at bachata. But of course, as salsa dancers, sometimes you're afraid to do something else because, you get tagged. And so I really wanted to do it because one of the things that I like to advocate for is a dancer is a dancer is a dancer. And that's why for me, it's really important to create 3 dance challenges for you guys at my competitions and things like that, because I want the dancer to know that your body can create different rhythms, dance to different musics, and have different interpretations. So I was really keen on doing the bachata because
Mhm.
it was my way with showing the world that I'm a dancer. I can do everything. So it was a lot of fun to fuse ballroom with bachata and do it to a rock song. It was, rock and roll is something I grew up with, so it felt really special in all of those ways.
I love it. Before we wrap it up, I did write down, I'm going to quote you right now. I had to write this down so I get this quote correct. Um, you said the other day in your post, I grew up in a dance environment where male talent was recognized and women had to push through hurdles and disbeliefs in order to make it. Right? So we're talking today about Anya the dancer. What advice can you give to women trying to be dancers in this industry that will help them with this message?
Um, Stand up for what you believe in. Don't believe anyone that tells you that you can't. There are like no rules, right? So anytime I was told a lot of things as a dancer, as a woman, like even with that number where I danced with 3 guys, I had a friend come to me and say, well, but you already did that. We already know you as the girl that dances with 3 guys. Now do something else, right? So there's a lot of advice out there that is actually disempowerment, right? Masked with I care for you. So just do go where your heart wants you to be and find the people that will help you get there and support you on your journey, because that's important. But don't be afraid of anything. Nobody out there is the boss of you. Nobody out there runs the dance scene, right? Like, really just understand this. No one out there runs the dancing world. Yes, maybe someone organizes a competition, maybe someone else organizes an event, maybe someone else has a dance school, but the important part there is one, right? So there will be another dance school, there will be another event, there will be another opportunity, there will be another dance partner that will not abuse you, there will be another dance friend that won't be mean to you, right? So just don't listen to the opinion of the few, because it's really common that people protect themselves by putting other people down. So just don't get stuck in that cycle. To be a dancer means so many different things. So just ask yourself, what does it mean for me? Do I want to perform? Do I want to teach? Do I want to coach? Do I want to do it on TV? Do I want to do it in an event? Be open to all of the opportunities, but definitely don't let anyone make the rules for you. Train hard, work hard, make sure you're good, and make sure you're good at what you want to do. Because if you want to do it, it'll be easier for you to believe in it. It'll be easier for you to be wholehearted about it. A lot of times we're not the best at what we can do because we didn't choose what we are doing, right? It could be a style, it could be a song, it could be a costume. But if it's not your choice, it's going to be easier for you to believe in the nay than the yay. So just be as strong as you can be in accepting you, getting to know what that is, and just doing whatever the hell you want to do. And know that it's safe to do that, because for every no, there will be a yes. And for every negative, there will be a positive. And for every place where a door closes, another one will open. And that's just the universe's way of showing you, nope, not this way, over here, come over here, come over here. That's our breadcrumbs, actually. They're hard because sometimes they come with hurt feelings and things that we think we care about. But the reality is those are just breadcrumbs. They're kindness, they're love, redirecting you to where you can be the shiniest. So just be okay with being shiny, be okay with being yourself. Don't copy any trends. Don't listen to too many people. Line up with those that support you and be very clear on your dreams. Because if you are, they'll come true.
I hope everybody watching was paying attention to all that she just said. And when I post this, rewatch it, rewatch it, rewatch it, because that is all the information. I mean, that's just life, what you just said right there. Anya, before we end, why don't you let people know where they can follow you and get your information, where you're offering your classes and whatnot, online, in person? Where can people look you up?
I can be found on social media under Anya Katsevman, whether it's my Facebook page or my Instagram page. You can always email me, anyakatsevman@gmail.com. I will be doing actually 2 really awesome workshops this month. One to develop the athlete. So I always try to give something to the athlete, give something to the artist. So I will be working on spatial planes and manners of space. So that's body mechanics and some styling principles. And I will be working on character versus characterization this month. And then next month, I will be rolling out my progressive group classes. So I'm basically recruiting people that want to work on themselves as a whole for my Tuesday night classes. And I'm recruiting women that want to work on all of the girly things for my Wednesday night classes starting in April. So if you follow me on all of my pages, you'll definitely get that information. You can also, in the links in my bio, sign up for my newsletter, which I release, where I give tips for the artist and the athlete.
I get that newsletter.
Yeah, I've actually only written one so far, but I will write another one this month, I promise.
That's okay. All right, and we're gonna have you back. You'll say you'll do another episode so we can dive into Anya as a
I
solo
would love
artist,
to.
Anya as the coach, the philosopher. We have so much more to unpack with you.
I would love to. And again, thank you so much for doing this. This is definitely like the coolest interview I've ever been a part of. So if I stole any of your guys' time by observing my own journey in the beautiful way Sharonne put it together, I apologize, but it was definitely so much fun.
Thank you for doing it. I love you. I can't wait to have you back. Guys, I hope everybody enjoyed this. Join me next week. I will have the lovely Kelly Lennon on, and we will be talking about Calgary. And
yay, Bron.
Yeah, and then we've got a really great lineup coming up. I've got some big name ladies. I got some ladies' names that should be bigger. So we're going to unpack it all, and we're going to talk about women of dance every Wednesday. So thank you, guys. Love you all.
You have all of my support. Thank you guys for tuning in. It was so nice to see all of your names briefly.
There's a lot of people. You'll see them when I post the video. There's too much to note. Bye.
Bye. Love you.